December 3, 1942. Outskirts of Stalingrad. The wind slices across the frozen steppe like a blade. Snow squeaks under boots, hardened by months of marching and fighting. Somewhere beyond the shattered apartment blocks, German artillery thumps dully, not close, but close enough to keep every man alert. Red Army Private Alexei Morozov, 19 years old, rifle slung across his shoulder, squats beside a ruined brick wall with 3 other infantrymen. Their breath fogs the air. Their gloves are patched with string. Their greatcoats stink of smoke, sweat, and old blood. In Alexei's hands is a small, rectangular bar wrapped in dull brown paper. German chocolate. He snorts. Fascist candy, he mutters, passing it to Sergeant Ivan Petrov, a veteran with frostbitten fingers and a scar that pulls one side of his mouth downward. Petrov weighs it in his palm, unimpressed. They send us sweets now, he says. Must think we're children. The men laugh, a short, barking sound that dies quickly in the cold. German rations have become common enough trophies. Tins of Urset's coffee, hard bread stamped with eagles, the occasional chocolate bar taken from a dead or captured Lancer. Most Soviet soldiers treat them with suspicion or mockery. Too sweet. Too soft. Too German. Petrov breaks the bar in half and takes a bite anyway. His jaw works slowly. HM, he says. Still chocolate. Alexei chews his own piece. It melts too quickly on his tongue, sugary and unfamiliar. It reminds him of nothing. Not home. Not warmth. Not survival. He shrugs. Better than nothing. Everything is better than nothing, Petrov replies flatly. Nothing, after all, has become familiar. The Red Army in the winter of 1942 is an army that knows hunger intimately. Official rations exist on paper, black bread, kasha, soup when available. In reality, supply lines are shattered, transport wagons destroyed, horses dead. Men trade cigarettes for crusts. They scrape frost from tins and lick it for moisture. They boil leather straps when the fighting pauses long enough. Alexei remembers his mother's kitchen in Smolensk, the smell of rye bread and cabbage soup. That feels like another life. A shout cuts through the air. Razvedchiki, recon patrol. The men snap to their feet. Rifles come up. Somewhere beyond the rubble, boots crunch on snow. German voices murmur, tired, hoarse, human. A brief firefight crackles. 2 minutes of sharp, violent noise. Then silence again. When it's over, a young German corporal lies face down near the shell crater, helmet askew. His pack has burst open. Inside, spare socks, a photograph of a woman and child and food. Petrov kneels and rummages without ceremony. A tin of meat paste. Hard biscuits. Another chocolate bar. And something else. A can with unfamiliar markings. English words. He squints. What the hell is this? Alexei leans closer, wiping his nose with his sleeve. The label is dented but legible. Corned beef, product of USA. The men stare. USA. Alexei repeats. America. Petrov grunts. So the rumors are true. For months now, whispers have drifted through the ranks. Stories carried by truck drivers, by political officers, by men transferred from rear units. The Americans, they say, are sending supplies. Food. Boots. Trucks. Mountains of it. Somewhere far away, beyond the Urals, beyond the ocean. Most frontline soldiers treat the stories like fairy tales. Petrov pries the can open with his bayonet. The metal squeals. Inside is dense, pink meat packed in fat. It smells rich. Not sour. Not burned. Not boiled into submission. Real food. Petrov hesitates. The others watch him closely. Well? Alexei asks. The sergeant cuts a chunk and puts it in his mouth. For a moment, nothing happens. Then Petrov freezes. His eyes widen slightly. His jaw stops moving. Slowly, deliberately, he chews again. By God, he says quietly. The wind howls through the ruins. Somewhere, a machine gun rattles. The war does not pause. But in that instant, something shifts. Petrov cuts another piece and hands it to Alexei. The meat is cold, firm, slick with fat. Alexei bites down. Salt. Richness. Protein so dense it feels like strength itself. His stomach clenches, not in pain but in shock. He swallows hard. This, he begins, then stops, unsure how to finish the sentence. Petrov lets out a rough laugh. This is what winning tastes like. The German chocolate lies forgotten in the snow. December 6, 1942. Biketovka supply dump, east bank of the Volga. The Volga is choked with ice, its surface groaning like a living thing as slabs grind together under the weak winter sun. Trucks idle in long, snaking lines along the riverbank, exhaust fumes hanging low and bitter in the air. Men shout. Crates slam shut. Somewhere, a driver curses in Ukrainian as an engine refuses to turn over. Private Alexei Morozov stands with his platoon beside a stack of wooden boxes taller than a house. Stenciled on the sides are words none of them grew up reading. U.S. Army Lend-Lease foodstuffs. Alexei traces the letters with his glove, as if they might vanish. So it's true, murmurs Corporal Mikhail Zorin, a former factory worker from Leningrad. America really is feeding us. Behind them, a political officer clears his throat loudly. Not feeding, he corrects. Assisting, in the struggle against fascism. But even he sounds less rigid than usual. The boxes are pried open with crowbars. Inside are neat rows of cans, Spam, corned beef, pork, and beans, wrapped in wax paper. Smaller cartons hold powdered milk, sugar, coffee. There are bars of chocolate, wrapped brightly, nothing like the dull German ones pulled from corpses. Alexei picks one up. Hershey's. The name means nothing to him. The weight does. The first distribution is cautious. Commanders worry about hoarding, about men eating too much too fast. Stomachs accustomed to near starvation can rebel. Portions are rationed, logged, watched. Still, the effect is immediate. That night, Alexei sits in a shallow dugout with Petrov and the others as a small fire crackles weakly. Snow drifts through the broken roof. Someone has acquired an American tin opener, a clever little thing that works faster than a bayonet. Petrov opens a can of pork and beans. The smell spreads instantly, thick and sweet. Zorin laughs softly. Smells like a restaurant. Smells like propaganda, another man mutters, but he's already holding out his mess tin. They eat slowly, reverently. No one jokes. No one rushes. Alexei feels warmth spread through his chest as the food settles. Not just physical warmth, something steadier. Endurance. The quiet confidence that tomorrow, his body might actually obey him. Outside, German flares hiss and bloom in the sky. The war remains brutal, immediate, lethal. But now, the Red Army soldier is no longer fighting on an empty stomach. The journey that brought this food here is unimaginable to the men eating it. Months earlier, thousands of miles away, American dockworkers in New York, Baltimore, and New Orleans loaded these same cans onto cargo ships. They crossed the Atlantic under threat of U-boats, through storms and darkness, convoyed by destroyers with sonar pings echoing endlessly. Some ships never arrived. Others turned north, braving the Arctic route to Murmansk and Arkhangelsk, where icy seas claimed men just as surely as German torpedoes. Sailors froze to death at their guns. Decks iced over so thick they had to be hacked clear with axes. Still, the ships came. Crates were unloaded under bombing raids, rushed onto Soviet trains, hauled east and south by locomotives burning whatever fuel could be found. From railheads, trucks, many of them American Studebakers, carried the cargo forward, closer and closer to the front. Each can pass through dozens of hands before reaching Alexei's mess tin. No one at the front sees the whole chain, but they feel the result. A week later, during a lull in fighting, Alexei and Zoran sit on an overturned crate, unwrapping another American chocolate bar. Snowflakes drift lazily. For once, there is no immediate shelling. Zoran breaks the bar cleanly in half. "You know," he says, "I used to think chocolate was just for holidays." Alexei nods. "I used to think it was for Germans." They both laugh quietly. The chocolate is different from the German kind. Less crumbly. Less bitter. It melts slower. Richer. It tastes deliberate. As if someone somewhere designed it to survive heat, cold, transport, war. Petrov joins them, lighting a cigarette. "You boys realize something." "What?" He exhales smoke. "If they can send us this, they can send us more." Alexei looks out across the frozen Volga, toward the shattered city, where men still fight room to room. "For the first time," he says carefully, "it feels like the world knows we're here." Petrov nods. "And that means the Germans aren't just fighting us anymore." In the distance, artillery begins again, low, rolling thunder. Alexei stands, shoulders his rifle, and slips the last piece of American chocolate into his pocket instead of eating it. For later. For after. For a future that suddenly feels possible. January 14th, 1943. Southern edge of Stalingrad pocket. Dawn arrives reluctantly, a thin gray smear over the ruins. Snow drifts sideways under a bitter wind, filling shell holes and softening the jagged outlines of smashed factories. The air smells of cordite, oil, and cold metal. Private Alexei Morozov lies flat behind a low embankment, cheek pressed into frozen earth. His fingers are stiff inside his gloves, but they no longer tremble the way they did a month ago. His stomach is not empty. His legs do not feel hollow. Ahead of him, the German lines are quieter than they were yesterday. That alone is unsettling. Sergeant Ivan Petrov crawls down the line, checking positions. His beard is rimed with frost, his eyes are sharp. He stops beside Alexei. "You good?" he asks. Alexei nods. "Yes, comrade sergeant." Petrov pauses, then adds quietly, "Eat before it starts." Alexei reaches into his coat and pulls out a dented American can, Spam this time. He opens it carefully, shielding the sound. The lid peels back with a soft metallic sigh. He takes a bite. The fat coats his mouth. The salt wakes him fully. It's not elegant food. It isn't meant to be. It is fuel. Around him, other men do the same. No one jokes now. They've learned what this food means. They've learned what it does. When the Soviet artillery opens up minutes later, the men rise and advance with a steadiness that surprises even themselves. By January, the Red Army is no longer merely enduring at Stalingrad. It is pressing. The encircled German Sixth Army is starving. Captured prisoners speak openly of eating horse meat, of boiling wallpaper paste for sustenance. Their faces are hollow. Their eyes dart toward any mention of food. During one engagement, Alexei's unit overruns a shallow German trench. Resistance is brief. A young German soldier drops his rifle and raises his hands, shouting hoarsely, "Nicht schießen." As he searched, a familiar brown wrapper falls from his pocket, German chocolate. Zoran picks it up and snorts. "Still got these." Petrov doesn't laugh this time. Instead, he reaches into his own pouch and pulls out an American chocolate bar. Bright wrapper. Clean edges. He tosses it to the prisoner. The German stares at it, confused. "Eat," Petrov says in rough German. "You'll need it." The prisoner hesitates, then tears it open with shaking hands. He takes a bite and closes his eyes. For a moment, the war disappears from his face. Alexei watches silently. Power, he realizes, is not just guns and tanks. It's logistics. Calories. The quiet certainty that tomorrow you will still be able to stand. Behind the lines, the change is even more visible. Field kitchens operate longer. Soup grows thicker. Kasha is bulked out with American meat. Men recover faster from wounds. Frostbite still takes its toll, but fewer soldiers collapse simply from exhaustion. Medical orderlies notice it first. They heal quicker, one says to another, shaking his head. Look at them. Political officers notice too, though they phrase it differently. Morale has improved, a commissar reports stiffly. Combat effectiveness has increased. No one mentions spam in the official paperwork. One evening, after a successful push, Alexei sits with Petrov and Zoran inside the shattered shell of a tractor factory office. Snow drifts through broken windows. A single candle flickers. They share coffee. Real coffee. American coffee, brewed too strong, too bitter, and utterly glorious. Zoran grimaces after his first sip. Tastes like burnt hope. Petrov chuckles. You drink it, you stay awake. That's the point. Alexei cradles the tin mug, letting the heat soak into his hands. Do you think they know? He asks suddenly. Who? The Americans. Do you think they know this is ending up here, with us? Petrov considers. Maybe, maybe not, doesn't matter. He taps the can gently. They send it, we use it, we fight. A distant rumble shakes dust from the ceiling. Somewhere, a German shell detonates harmlessly among ruins. Zoran stares into his cup. Funny, he says. Before the war, I thought America was all factories and rich men. And now? Alexei asks. And now, Zoran replies, I think they're very far away and somehow right here. On February 2, 1943, the guns finally fall silent at Stalingrad. The Germans surrender. Alexei stands amid columns of prisoners, watching them shuffle past. Some glance hungrily at Soviet mess tins. Others can barely lift their heads. He feels no triumph, only exhaustion, and something else. Survival. He reaches into his pocket and finds the last American chocolate bar he's been saving since December. The wrapper is creased, the edges worn. He breaks it carefully and hands half to Zoran. They eat in silence as snow falls gently over the ruins of a city that has consumed entire armies. The war is far from over. But now, the Red Army knows something it didn't before. It will not fight alone. August 18, 1944. Near Lublin, eastern Poland. Rain turns the dirt road into a ribbon of mud, thick and sucking at boots. The war has moved west, far from the frozen hell of Stalingrad, but it has not grown kinder. Burned-out villages line the route. The smell of wet ash hangs in the air. Private Alexei Morozov is older now. His greatcoat is faded. His rifle has been repaired twice. The boy who once mocked German chocolate in the snow outside Stalingrad feels distant, almost fictional. Alexei kneels beside a supply truck, helping unload crates. The stenciling is familiar. U.S. Lend-Lease. He smiles faintly. Nearby, new recruits, barely shaved, boots still stiff, gather around a crate of American rations. One of them pulls out a chocolate bar and laughs. Look at this, the boy says. Fascist candy all over again. The older men exchange glances. Petrov, now a senior sergeant, limps over and takes the bar from the recruit's hand. He studies it, then hands it back gently. You'll learn, he says. Just eat it. The recruit shrugs and does. His expression changes exactly the way Petrov remembers. By 1944, American food is no longer a novelty in the Red Army. It is a fact of life. Spam is diced into soups. Corned beef thickens stews. Powdered eggs appear at field breakfasts. Sugar, real sugar, sweetens tea. Coffee keeps tank crews awake through long night advances. Men complain about it now. Too salty. Too sweet. Why is everything in a can? Alexei hears the complaints and says nothing. He remembers hunger too clearly. That evening, the platoon halts in a captured farmhouse. Rain drums on the roof. Someone has found a gramophone and a cracked record. Music warbles through the room, thin and distorted. Alexei sits on a wooden crate, sharing a tin of American meat with Zoran, now a corporal. They eat with knives, no ceremony. Zoran chews thoughtfully. You remember the German chocolate? Alexei snorts. Barely. I remember laughing at it, Zoran says. Like it was a joke. And then, Alexei prompts. And then we tasted this, Zoran replies, tapping the tin. And stopped laughing. Petrov joins them, lowering himself with a grunt. He pulls a cigarette from an American pack and lights it. Funny thing, he says through the smoke. Back then, I thought food was just food. And now? Alexei asks. And now I know it's ammunition. They sit quietly as the rain continues. Weeks later, near the Vistula River, Alexei encounters American gear everywhere. Trucks, radios, boots, crates. The war feels industrial now, relentless. Entire German divisions crumble under the weight of men and material. During a brief pause, Alexei opens a letter from home. His mother writes that the bread lines are shorter, that the ration cards cover more, that there is sugar again. He folds the letter carefully. Even there he realizes the cans are working. One afternoon, the unit captures a German supply depot. Inside are stacks of crates, mostly empty. A few chocolate bars lie scattered on the floor, trampled. No one reaches for them. Instead, Zoran cracks open an American can and hands it around. Alexei watches a group of newly liberated Polish civilians eye the food nervously. He breaks off a piece and offers it to an old woman. She hesitates, then smiles faintly as she eats. The war has taught him something simple and terrible. Starvation spreads faster than bullets. But so does nourishment. As night falls, Alexei sits alone outside, unwrapping an American chocolate bar. The rain has stopped. The air smells clean for once. He bites into it slowly. He thinks of the men who loaded it onto a ship, of the sailors who crossed black seas, of the drivers who hauled it across continents, of the soldiers who shared it in ruins and forests and fields. Once, he mocked chocolate because it felt meaningless. Now he knows better. In war, survival is built from small, ordinary things. A can, a bar, a mouthful of warmth. And sometimes, the difference between collapse and victory is not a bullet, but a meal.